and welcome to another episode of GM Talks, where we're gonna look at chess middle game, or middle games, as you might say. It's gonna be a little bit about positional tactics, how to grind people down. So I think you will become a better middle game player after watching this video. Remember to sign up for the emails so we can always get news to you and maybe some special offer along the way. This game is great in a lot of sense. First of all, it's a very instructive little tactics that Arjun falls for, and then it's the breakdown how to do that in a methodical way. We will see Svidler perform in excellent fashion. I really enjoyed this game, and I think you will too. And this way of playing is the way to play. If you want to become a grandmaster, but understand chess at grandmaster level, this is something you have to be able to do. So let's get into it. We have a lot of moves ahead of us. C4, the English opening, which is getting after all the mainline openings is sort of exhausted. The resources there. We are starting to see this a lot. I think maybe also Svidler knew that Arjun liked to play something like this. So, and this looks sort of enticing, right? That you can play the dodge where you get d4 or e5 immediately. The problem, of course, is that it could also be a slide of a sort of a Grand Prix attack with color reversed. The problem is you played this very fast, so you are not as well developed as black usually are in the dots when he gets e5 in. So even though it is nice to have this center, it's also weak, and white can try to exploit that immediately with d4. Now notice, if you take here, then this structure, white will take back, this structure here is not good. This is clearly to white's advantage. Yes, a lot. He will have nice pieces, and this has basically created a lot of holes in black's position in all kinds of way. Also, this square is weak, and if you cover it, then this pawn is weak, and so on. So you don't want to take. You want to keep your structure intact. You want to keep your structure intact. So. And you should be careful. There are some bad thing can happen on this square, a lot of other squares. So bishop e7 is the way to go. The idea is to take back. We know this from the Dutch, where you take back with this pawn, covering this one, so any kind of knight jumps here is not threatening the pawn on c7, and then you would basically defend e5, f5 as much as you can, and probably maybe even something like c6 and bishop c7 and things like that. And if you manage to avoid any kind of concessions, then you will look forward to a nice queenless middle game, where you have these two pawns here that is at the moment a little bit weak. They jumped out there without any support, but if they are allowed to stay, they will be rather strong. So that's the idea. I still think this is probably fine for white, probably slightly better, but it's definitely playable for black. But you also could play this, and this was probably an idea prepared by Svidler, because after this move, this looks weird, and say, are you gonna go here and play like a French types with this move played? But the idea was this move, and I thought, what, is that not losing a pawn? But after if you take it something like this, and here, then you actually have very decent compensation. If this bishop becomes good, it becomes very, very good, and of course white will look forward to castling queenside and play like some sort of a bingo stuff. And if this disappears, well, he might also get this one going, and it's I don't know. I think it's better for white, and it's definitely unpleasant, and also it's not so nice to have this position against a prepared opponent. So he didn't take. He played c6. taking away this square for the knight, preparing to play d5. White didn't give black a second chance and went here, so it has all these squares here, and we have sort of a French structure. The understanding about the French structure has changed a little bit over the years. I think we can safely say now that we believe that White is better in the French if he managed to keep his center safe. Everybody's lost games where this pawn drops at some point, but if it does not drop and black can solve, then the space will matter in the long run. Space advantage is a bigger thing than we used to think growing up in the 80s and 90s, where we were much more afraid of the counterattack against the space than we are today, where we believe that space is really a big thing. Knight a6. That's also why the space conceding openings like Daliekin and the Perk has more or less disappeared from the main tournaments, because it's just giving away too much from the beginning. Of course, you can still play this way. It's kind of romantic, sniper-like to do this, and knight here. Black is preparing to go d5. I should, by the way, turn off this so I will not be confused by lines. Queen b3, and all these are very thematic moves. This eyes this square, and this eyes this square, and it especially eyes this square as well. We are fighting over d5, knight f6, bishop d5, and we see all moves are aimed at this square at the moment. If black is safely allowed to play d5 without giving anything away and keeping the space, just sitting there for a little while, he will be better. At the moment, this knight is also ready to jump into action in one of these squares, so black has to wait. But if he manages, it would be nice. e3, nice little move, just getting ready to also have this bishop come out maybe, and maybe just preparing something like this, and also saying that okay, this guy is never coming home. It will be exchanged at some point, or if it's lucky, it will find a good square on this diagonal. Rook b8, nice little prophylactic move. At the moment, black cannot play move the bishop because the pawn is hanging, and then this one is hanging, so you cannot like say it was a sacrifice. But he's preparing bishop e6, bishop e6 followed by bishop f7, and black is ready for d5. And if he gets d5 in, he will have a clear advantage or slight advantage. Knight f4. So white is putting everything, and we see that we at the moment had one here, one there, one here, one there, and even this one aiming at d5. Black decides to play the knight here to prevent to exchange the knight, and it's very logical move. It does unfortunately have a flaw that he did not see. So let's see, what should black play here? Well, he should actually play bishop e6, I think, because taking it is not that great. Then this one is hanging, and something like this now is just met by this, and then you don't mind having lost the bishop, and this pawn is covered here. So and this is a little bit annoying, and it's also prevent this bishop f4. Instead, he did the very logical move that I think everybody would play in blitz: knight e6, attacking the knight, blocking this diagonal, attacking the bishop. You probably don't want to take the bishop, opening the h-file and so on. That will be unfortunate, but this is a mistake, and white has something good here. That's also why it's a little. It looks very positional, the game. They fought so hard over d5, and then comes c5, allowing d5. What is going on here? And they say, okay, and if black only had one move here, he would be absolutely fine. Unfortunately, white plays this move and this move, and suddenly we see the problem. this rook is attacked, and this rook is needed for the defense of the pawn. Here, black decides to sacrifice the exchange. That's, I think, clearly the best practical solution to the problems. You cannot allow this pawn to disappear and just play on like nothing happened. First of all, this bishop is extremely strong. Second of all, this pawn and this pawn will be weak, and you will be rolled up at some point with b5. So you have to sacrifice the exchange. That's clearly keeping pieces on the board, and sometimes exchange sacrifices work out great. But of course, white is an exchange up. Black has some positional compensation, but not enough. Knight d7, not sure this is best move. By the way, look at this knight a4 was a little bit interesting. And you can say that something like this, and here after a5, black is more or less already certain of being able to close the queen side. So white is sure he can open the king side at some point, but he will be able to open the king side for sure. So you can maybe even just play a4 and something like this. Then he will go here. Here he will castle queen side, and then he will at some point open with f4 and g4 and stuff like that. This is and he will exchange everything at some point. The extra exchange will count for something. Knight d7, covering the pawn, and take, and rook c1. Very typical chess. And of course, one of the things you have to remember here with white is not to play too passively, because the exchange up is nice, but if black is allowed to sort of settle in and employ all his light pieces on good squares, then we'll have a serious middle game. And also, you might even be afraid of something like this, followed by this. Could be, or if the knight is allowed here and so on, and f4 and stuff like that. So white keeps playing very actively. Black defend the pawn, setting a little trap here. If this move, then this move is a problem. Very typical trick. Don't fall for that. Bishop e2, c5, and I don't like c5 on general grounds. It looks wrong. Black somehow has to keep the structure intact and be ready to do something else. So c5 in principle, it looks like, okay, I want to play c5, then I want to take here, and when he takes back, then I want to play f4, and we can see that this structure will be very weak. This of course never gonna happen. White will start with this move, and we see that the queen is here, so you could take now, but then rook c6, oops, maybe is a problem. Could be for sure. So c4 preventing rook c6, and queen a3, very smart. So this is also very typical when you're material up. You would like to exchange pieces. And here we see that this is actually very nice, because it will also open the b file and thereby exposing this pawn here. Knight goes away, and black is still hoping. Of course, there was some trick again with rook b8. This, by the way, this Arjun Erigaisi guy is very tricky. But of course, you play this move first and cover it, and king comes. And this was going to come on bishop takes a3 anyway, so he decided to defend the pawn and let this one live, because he don't want to give up the b pawn. And so white managed to get the knight back, controlling this square. And this position is of course winning for white, but the way he wins it is very instructive. So let's see it. Rook b4. Of course, you want to have the other rook to the king side. Bishop was attacked. King comes to the rescue, taking over the A file, maybe threatening this move. King b7, rook here. Rook here, and maybe you're planning this move. Oops, it keeps doing that. Sorry. Up. Bishop d7, so that was not, and okay, back. Okay, did that work? King to the rescue. Found a way. King back again. And the way white is playing this, it's not the straight way to the win, but he's never having any chance. There's no chance he's not going to win this. So how do we get this going? Oh, we need to get the knight into the game. The knight was looking very good on c3, but it was not doing anything, and this was very, very serious protected. So it needs to go somewhere. Now it might, you want to, as we said before, you want to exchange pieces, so you don't want to. And check. Okay, moving the king away, getting the bishop out of the square, getting ready for this move, which was definitely not, and rook here, and we want to keep the rooks active, so we are keeping the knight on a7. So we will first play this when we are ready to protect this one also. At the moment, black was again probably threatening something. I could imagine something like this is a problem, right? Could be. I'm not sure. You can take d8. It's not clear, but might not be that bad for black. So why not just protect the first, then knight takes d8 is definitely good. And he had to exchange. Knight comes out. It has accomplished the mission of exchanging one piece. It's going back, and black has lost the bishop pair and the white squared bishop. Rook a5, knight c3. You need to keep the rook active, and now we take and down here attacking the bishop, and again attacking something here. And what happens on this move? Well, this move is again possible because the knight is hanging, and of course the king can always go here and stop the pawn, so no problem there. Of course this is clearly winning, king c5, but the way and you need to push the opponent back, keep the rook out of the way, knight a4, check, check, and here, and black resigned. Of course he's losing everything, he has no counterplay at all. So this was well, basically he's actually losing the bishop right now, because after this one has to go back, and then this move wins the bishop. So that was a very nice positional tactical game. The way Svidler conducted the middle game is instructive, and the mistake he made, and I think maybe it was a little bit naive to think that you could play knight e6 here, because that's the move you want to play, and somehow you should be sure nothing happened. But it's also a very concealed tactic, that this bishop here ends up threatening this rook here, so black will lose this pawn here. It's not really easy to see, even for 2,700 players, that this is what's going to happen. So nice game by Svidler, and I feel a little bit for Svidler that he's probably one of the most affected by the war in Ukraine, because he's always been very sort of westernized, and I asked him once if he was going to move out of Russia, and he said no, because he of course loves Russia, he's Russian, but also because his children and wife and so on were in Russia, and and it made no sense to leave Russia. But now they're waging war, and I'm sure he does not approve of the war, which is pretty obvious. So what to do? Which just shows that this war is absolutely meaningless. Anyway, this was GM Talk. I hope you liked this game. Remember to like and subscribe. Sign up for the email list as well. Well, see you next time.